Hello everyone, and welcome to TableTakes presented by Gen Con, your source for the hottest tabletop takes from the coolest people. I am Mike Robles, and joining me this week we have...
Tifa Robles.
Emma Larkins.
And Derek Gooder.
Yay.
Super special guest, Derek Frequent Beef Gooder. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm excited to see you here. Derek, we're always talking to Derek off camera, always sitting there being like, Derek, fill us in on this, fill us in on that. Or he'll like shout out at us and be like, hey, you're saying this wrong, which is great. Now we have him on the show. Christian, unfortunately, is feeling ill today. We wish him the speediest of recoveries. And he'll be back. He'll be back. Happy February, first of all.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it is
Yeah,
February
reminder,
1st.
everyone, it is February 1st. And with that, you got something to say?
No.
You
I was
breathed
thinking
you
like
were...
Groundhog Day. That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. And we get to relive Saturday all day tomorrow. And I'm so excited for
I had
that.
to explain Groundhog Day to my wife, who's from Europe. And without any context, that sounds like the craziest thing.
It is. It's literally,
Yep.
we're sitting there being like, wait,
Wait, explain the holiday or the movie?
No, the
holiday.
The holiday.
Oh, okay.
Have you shown her the movie?
Yeah, you don't explain it, just show the movie.
You show the movie, yeah.
No, I showed her YouTube clips of Punxsutawney Phil.
We're already off the rails. All right. Speaking of February, speaking of Groundhog's Day, we've got a lot to cover and not a lot of time to do it. So let's start with headlines. First off, early event submission for Gen Con ends this weekend. Ends this weekend.
Get on it.
Get on it.
I think
too, for people who aren't as aware of the Gen Con events, the way that Gen Con does anything that happens, and correct me if I'm wrong, but any sort of talks, or any sort of, like I talked about it a couple weeks ago, we make puppets, you can make chainmail bags, you can do presentation, like all of that is user submitted content that happens through these events.
Yeah,
So-
like I'm actually in charge of the events.
Yeah.
And or most of the events, at least the game stuff. Marion and Jeanette do some other things. But we, as Gen Con, run almost nothing ourselves.
Yeah.
It's almost all companies, gaming groups, fans, who are just really excited about something and want to run that and share it with people.
I need to submit what we talked about, our speed marriage. Where we just,
Oh,
where
the
you and
speed
I,
marriage,
where you and I
yeah.
just marry everybody like as fast as possible. Just come in and,
Yeah.
and marry a bunch of people. Although the paperwork for that's gonna be insane.
So,
We have to sit like
just
after us. We're just sitting there.
Well, you got a couple months to get that out of the way.
That's true. Yeah.
So if you want to see something, if you've been to Gen Con before, you're like, oh man, why don't they have this? You can make it happen, and now is the time to do it.
Yeah, it's super cool.
No matter how obscure the game, you can usually find a couple other people to play it with you.
Yeah.
So if you love a game and haven't had a chance to play it, come to Gen Con, bring it, and run it.
I can do a Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, there you go.
game.
Oh,
We were talking about before we went live, everybody, about how I love the Scott Pilgrim board game, but have yet to play it with anybody.
I'll play
It's
it.
super clever.
Play
We
it.
should-
Yeah,
we
we
should
should too.
Next week, live on TableTakes, we will play the Scott Pilgrim board game for the whole hour.
I love it.
That'll be it.
Don't listen to anything.
Don't listen to me at all. Speaking of also really cool things and games, tickets for PaizoCon 2019 on sale now. On sale now. It's going to be May 24th through 27th in Seattle.
All right, for people who might not know what PaizoCon is about,
All right.
Pathfinder,
And Starfinder.
Starfinder.
Yeah.
The
Paizo's local to Seattle
Yes.
company. I think their biggest IP would be Pathfinder, but they make quite a few games.
They've also partnered with Lone Shark Games to make the Pathfinder adventure card game, which
Yep.
has a ton of adventures out there. Lone Shark writes a lot of adventures for Pathfinder as well. It's going to be a 4-day event, right? Coming out here. Look at just look at the ticket prices here. $75 for the event, $45 for the banquet. You get $10 off if you purchase both of them together. There's going to be some live streamed events.
Yeah.
that
So
may
if you
happen.
can't make it, you can still see some of the stuff that's going on.
And that's going to be really neat. Yeah. I've actually never been to a PaizoCon. Have either of you?
I haven't. I want to go though.
I haven't had a chance. Usually when we're busy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it also kind of sneaks up on me every year because
Yes.
good friend of ours that we all know, Logan. Like he's always like, oh, let's hang out. And it's like, oh, I'm at PaizoCon. I was like, wait, that's
Yeah.
happening already?
Yep.
He's like, yep. I'm like, oh, great. All right, we gotta figure that out. All right, moving on with these headlines. I don't know how to say that.
Matt Leacock.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Why don't you
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Why
Oh,
don't you
a
go
new
ahead and finish?
era for pandemic creator Matt Leacock. So roll and write are big. We talked about this a little bit, I believe last week, at least before the show. And now there's roll and asterisk.
Yes.
So it's like welcome to. It's like a roll and flip, roll and build. So this thing is exploding, and Matt Leacock is getting in on the train. This game is cooperative, right?
Yeah, that's apparently.
No.
I mean,
That was a
Pandemic-
trap. That was a
There's
trap.
a trap.
for them.
well, hey, I know. I mean, I was
Yeah.
gonna say Pandemic was cooperative, in a way, in a sense.
No, it
It is
is.
cooperative.
Yeah.
Not if you play the digital game. You can actually play as the viruses.
Wait, seriously?
No, that's a different game.
That's
Oh, it's a different game.
Pandemic.
I'm thinking of a different game.
Yeah.
I just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Until
So
the-
this-
There's a variant with Pandemic. You can be the bioterrorist.
All right. Well,
That
that
might be what you're thinking of.
That's,
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Well, this one, I was reading the description for it. It says players will also be able to interfere with their opponent's actions through extortion and scorched earth strategies. And I did make a joke about
How is that not cooperative? Like that's exactly what I would be doing.
It's like in Pandemic, right? You like hide your cards and
Yeah.
play your cards at the worst time because
If
you
I-
want to be that person who never gets invited back.
If I'm gonna win, or if I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna make sure that at least everybody else is going down with me.
This is why I just don't play a lot of co-op games.
This is why I haven't played Scott Pilgrim.
I'm just making notes on which of you I should not invite to the next co-op game we play.
Yeah.
There,
Always
I
me.
take it back. I take it back. But no, this is super exciting. And for designers, you know, sometimes like everyone knows, like when people are building cooperative games, they like. I think Matt Leacock has like a bat phone or something that people can just like straight line to it. It's like I forget if it was Betrayal Legacy or something. I know there's a lot of.
The hotness the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Like they did Heaven and Ale. And,
Yes.
like that was like a huge.
Steel de Jar nominee or winner, something like that.
It was.
People were excited.
It was
Highly
really
esteemed
good.
game.
Highly esteemed.
Yeah.
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 I'm glad that both of you know how to actually pronounce those because I see them on the games. I'm like, it won that award, and I just point to it because I can't.
Spiel der Jahres. I've been practicing German for almost a year now.
Oh wow.
Solely so you can say all the awards that these games won.
Mostly to go to Essen and like
Oh,
try and
nice.
interact,
Yeah.
and also have a storytelling game that I eventually want to teach
Oh,
in German.
man.
Fun.
The progress is slow and pronunciation is tricky. It's
Ask
very
Nelly,
different.
ask Nelly to practice.
What?
Ask Nelly to practice.
Ooh, all right. All right, moving on. Renegade, company behind such games as Scott Pilgrim, as Bargain Quest. Derek, you're telling us a little about Bargain Quest, right? What is Bargain Quest?
So Bargain Quest is kind of like the gold rush of games, where you don't make the money by going and finding the gold. You make the money by selling to the people who are finding it. So you're running a little shop, and you're selling the equipment to the adventurers who need to go on the quest and save stuff. I haven't played it myself, but I have a lot of friends who are absolutely swear by it and love it, and the art is super adorable and funny.
It's super cute.
And they have 2 new expansions.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yep. Chaotic Goods and Solo Mode are both coming out in May.
And it's super cool because like you're selling these things, but you're not totally invested in these heroes surviving through it. So sometimes you sell them kind of like shafty goods, and you're just like, yeah, here's a magical shield, probably, or something.
It might have magic, you never know.
Yeah, who knows? Who do you know?
This year, almost as old as I am, Zorro turns 100. 100 years old, and then people are like, Zorro, who cares, right? Here's why you should care, because Zorro is going to become a tabletop game,
Yeah.
which I think is
An
so
RPG
rad.
even.
An RPG tabletop
Yeah.
game. It's going to use the classic D6 system from West End Games, which is the original Star Wars D6 system. Coming out in December.
So what excites you about?
Yeah, you seem really excited.
Because it's
You wanna be
Zorro.
Zorro?
I want to be Zorro.
Okay, my question though is everybody Zorro? Is their own?
Wait, so
Zorro?
is this into the Zorroverse?
Yeah.
Not the role-playing game?
This is all right. One more time. It's just
There.
like
we're all like swashbucklers.
Zorro, for those who don't know, the masked vigilante, sort of an anti-hero slash hero, is he sits there and he carves the Z.
Romancer.
Yeah, so
Extraordinaire.
the romancer, swashbuckler,
Yeah.
playboy extraordinaire.
I mean,
He
I
is
can
an
get,
archetype.
I can get down for some swashbuckling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. You're all with the pirates.
You got some
Stuff.
buckles, buckles to be swatched?
Yeah.
So that's coming out in December, which I think will be really, really neat. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm just curious to see how it plays. And you're right. Like, are we just maybe we're all trying to find Zorro?
Yeah.
It's like Star Wars. It's like, hey, where's Luke? Now it's just we're trying to find Zorro.
Yeah.
I bet you could go to Kickstarter right now to A, see it and back it, and find out what you're supposed to do with it.
Yeah.
That's true. It is currently already funded, which is great. 23 days left, so you still have plenty of time to get in and get your Zorro on.
I think it is really interesting. Like, is there a big audience for Zorro? I feel like I haven't heard about
It's funded,
him in
so
a while.
My family had one DVD growing up. Okay, we transitioned from VHS to DVDs, maybe two. I think Love Actually might have been one of them, but the other one was Zorro, and we had a projector, and we would watch that movie.
was it the Antonio Banderas Zorro?
Yes.
Oh,
my
of
gosh,
course.
yes.
Is there really any other Zorro?
All right, look, for those
Somewhere
of you...
there's a fan who's really angry.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
we have the one Zorro person that's like, that was black and white Zorros. He was on a train.
So I think Zorro keeps coming back, right? It's one of those evergreen things.
So that's great.
I feel like Zorro keeps coming back. I mean, that movie was what, late 90s?
Yeah, but now it's back again.
That's true. It has.
Maybe the RPG will be big enough that we'll get a video game.
Yeah.
We'll get
And
a
a
new
movie.
and another new movie. We'll get to play
Who
Zorro
will play
now.
Zorro?
That's what
Mike
We
can
can't
be
go
the
into
new
that.
Zorro.
Yeah, that's why he's real excited.
Yeah.
That's,
This is his shot.
It's my time. My
Yeah.
time to
Oh my
shine.
gosh.
Chad, I want to know if those of you that are paying attention to us right now and don't have us on mute in the background, who would you pick to play Zorro? Hey, tweet at us.
Oscar
Hashtag
Isaac.
TableTakes.
Yeah.
Oscar Isaacs would be a great Zorro. It's Poe Dameron.
I mean, there's,
Oh,
not a whole lot,
man.
there's not a whole lot of people we wouldn't want Oscar Isaac to play, though. So
Yeah,
That's true.
that's fair.
that might be a little unfair.
That's fair.
That's true. Speaking of fair, I was gonna say fairness, unfair, but fairness.
Fairness.
Kill Team Arena releases Saturday, and this is something you guys both know a little bit about.
Yeah, so Kill Team. Okay, let's go back to the before times.
All right.
For those of you who may not know,
Back in the
Kill
Zorro
Team,
days.
There's a game called Warhammer, and to be fair, like in the tabletop community, there's a lot of board gamers, who don't dabble into minis. It's like, oh, it's this forbidden place with all this stuff.
That was me
and-
once upon a time.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about Kill Team in general because this is my first Warhammer thing I've ever bought is a Kill Team starter box.
It's the perfect way to get in
Yeah.
because instead of having to have this whole table, like a 6x4 table of
Maybe hundreds
of
of
minis.
orcs, yeah.
Now you need 5,
Yeah.
maybe 10, a dozen, something like that, to play a game, and it plays much, much faster too.
So it's in a lot of ways it's like a good intro into Warhammer.
Yeah.
It's the MTG arena of Warhammer.
There. And I would say too, I actually learned Warhammer working at Mox, and again, I'd seen growing up, I always saw Games Workshop stores, and it was very intimidating. I'm
Yeah.
like, I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
do that. But then my coworkers sat me down. They're like, okay, you do this line of sight, and I'm like, I don't know if I'll be into this. But 5 minutes later, I'm rolling dice, I'm peering through the windows. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can totally shoot that dude. And it's once you sounds yeah.
No, but that
And it's
was exactly my experience
That's the
too.
game.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I was adamantly not minis.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
I wanted to love the Warhammer universe. I just couldn't find a way to get into it without buying the minis,
Right.
buying
Yeah.
the rules.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of got sucked into the precursor to Kill Team from the last edition, with the promise of just buy one box. You can just start with one
Yeah.
team.
That's it. That's all you
And
need.
Then the
I've
new
heard that
edition came
before.
out, and it just snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And I ended up finding out that it was just a hobby I really, really enjoyed that I had no idea I was going to.
And what's exciting about Arena in particular is if you have started to do so, a big thing of Warhammer is the competitive community and the fact that you can play this at a very competitive level. So with Arena, it makes the competition of Kill Team a little more balanced, which is for those of us who game competitively, it's always nice to know that you're not going to lose just because of one dice roll.
The interesting element is because a lot of the Kill Team missions that have come out are really flavorful. They're really random. They're very fun and oh my god, I can't believe that happened. And that's awesome.
Right.
But it can
Yeah.
be very, very frustrating if you're trying to do a structured tournament where
Right.
you want everyone to feel fair. So this is a little bit different because it's a kit that the players buy that has the missions and the objectives and a little bit of terrain and the board, and you're supposed to bring that to the game so that at the tournament you have everything you need to play, so the store owner doesn't have to fork out a ton of money on terrain to support the event, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it can be great, especially for a lot of local friendly game stores.
Who don't have the
smaller-
the stuff they can just keep in storage
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make the boards look awesome.
Right. All right. Moving on next here, Fantasy Flight announces details for Android setting for Genesis.
So everyone loves Android. Everyone is really sad that they haven't been able to participate in the universe. Or I mean, they can still play Netrunner, obviously, but
Right.
like with the looming demise or already demise of the game, I know it's really sad.
It's sad.
Like,
I joke, but it's sad because
Yeah.
I think we've mentioned before. We were friends super into Netrunner, and we talked about how you had to buy.
there-
Sometimes you had to buy more than one of the starter boxes so you can get specific cards. And it was a good game. So much so that another company sort of took that system and put it for Home Alone, which you haven't played the Home Alone game, is very similar to Netrunner. The
yes.
wet bandits are trying to break in the house,
Alright,
and Kevin is setting traps.
Oh man,
I would-
I tested that game, but only just now. I'm seeing the through line
It's
there for
Netrunner.
yeah.
And I want it.
See everything. I mean, Netrunner was like a huge influence on gaming. For
Yeah.
Oh
sure.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it was.
Like basically, like that whole genre was influenced differently by.
Yeah.
by Android.
When it first came out, like way back in the 90s, that was my group was all in on Netrunner and Vampire and L5R as card games. And Netrunner was the one that I loved just because it was so asymmetric.
Yeah.
It was 2 games in one, and that was amazing to me.
So it's very sad. The Netrunner is gone.
BC
Netrunner is no
Netrunner.
more. But the
But-
fact that they're actively building out the Android universe. I mean, a lot of the
Yeah.
appeal of the card game was the Android universe.
Yeah,
and the
they
fact
did a
that
really good job
they're-
of rich backstory of the card
Yeah,
game.
so we're not losing that. So
Right.
that's good.
Yes.
So the RPG is coming out. This is the setting book, basically, to kind of get you up to speed on the universe. And it uses the Genesis system, which, if anybody has played the Fantasy Flight Star Wars games, Edge of the Empire, Edge of the Empire, Rebellion, and Force and Destiny. Age of Rebellion, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That die system where you have the good dice and the bad dice, and you
Right.
add up the different symbols, and you can end up with results that succeed but have negative outcomes, or fail but have positive outcomes. That whole thing, Genesis is the generic version of that. So you can buy the Genesis core book, and then you get the Android supplement for the Cyberpunk universe.
Nice.
And it's set in Ecuador, I think.
Oh, cool.
Ecuador or Peru, because that's where the beanstalk, the gravity,
Yeah.
the space elevator comes down. It goes to Ecuador,
Okay.
and you play there instead of generic U.S. city.
Nice.
Well, I think it's really interesting that it'll appeal to a lot of different audiences. Like
Yeah.
it will appeal to people who like, space, sci-fi, cyberpunk themes. It'll appeal to people who played Netrunner.
Yeah.
Or it will appeal to other RPG audiences who are looking for
Yeah.
new RPGs to try out. So I think it definitely has like a great chance to do well.
I've been waiting for it ever since they announced the Genesis system. Like
Yeah.
Nice.
Fantasy Flight did that, and I was like, I'm in when this
There.
comes out.
I'm in for Android.
And people know that Fantasy Flight knows how to make games.
Yes.
So.
As we've talked about before.
Right.
They're making every game. Right?
Sponsoring the new show. Sponsoring Gen Con.
Gen
Actually,
Con,
yes.
sponsored by Fantasy Flight.
There you go.
That actually is true, yeah.
We got you. We got you, Fantasy Flight and Gen Con. All right. Let's talk about Humble Bundle. For those of you that do not know, Humble Bundle is a pay what you want sort of charity. You pay X amount of money, get X amount of. They're mostly known for video games. They actually just announced not too long ago that they're actually, in addition to PC games, are now going to be able to directly download games to your Switch, which is an awesome
nice.
benefit for them.
PlayStation as well.
Oh,
PlayStation.
PlayStation 4 has a bundle too, I think.
Oh, there you go. PlayStation 4 bundles as well. But they also do books, and some people don't know this. They actually do a ton of RPG books as well. There is currently a Numenera bundle, up to 28 books for $15 at the pay what you want tiers.
Yeah, I think that's. I want to say it's like $2,000 worth of PDFs
That
or
is
something
insane.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's a
They've
lot.
Been, well, they've been expanding what they offer, like Humble
yeah.
Bundle,
Yeah.
Like if people don't know that much about it, you can think of it like a subscription service, but you can sign up either for monthly tiers
Yeah.
or you can just do like one-off.
Yeah, so they have the Humble store that you can subscribe to, and you
Yep.
get like a free
Yeah.
video game. That I think is mainly video game focused.
Yes.
These bundles are separate. You don't have to have the subscription to participate, and it's literally just you name your price. If your price is above these certain thresholds that they've hit, which is like $1, $10, and $15, I
Yeah.
think, then you get whatever's included in that bundle.
Yep.
And then you can also decide how you want to divide the money between the publisher,
Yes.
Yep.
Humble, and the charity that the bundle is benefiting. So
Right.
it's a really interesting business model.
It's
particularly
definitely super cool.
Yeah, particularly when you have like this wealth of content that you want to get out to as many people as possible.
And they often do themed bundles as well, both in the video games and the RPG section. Clearly, like we said, there's the new Monera bundle happening right now. There's only a couple of days left, about 4 days left. So if you want to get on that and get $2,000 for $15,
Seems like a good deal.
Yeah.
seems like a pretty good deal.
Well, and it makes me wonder if they're going to start doing even more tabletop stuff.
They've had Pathfinder bundles in the past.
Yeah.
I think that's how I got all my Pathfinder PDFs was
Oh,
through
cool.
a bundle like that.
Yeah.
They've had a couple different ones. I don't remember them all.
They had a board game design book bundle. I'm pretty sure that I got in on. Yeah.
I think
that's a lot of
they
cool
also
stuff.
had a maybe tying into something we might discuss later. I think they had a bundle of digital board games.
They did.
at one point too.
Ooh.
They did.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's tons. Humble again crosses the thresholds all over the place, and they like it. Board games, video games, books. One of my favorite things they do is on the video games one. If you pay a little bit more, you can sometimes get the soundtracks to video games,
Yeah.
which is super cool. So lots there. It's more bundles. The bundle of holding, which is similar to Humble Bundle, except this is purely RPG focused.
And it's a separate site.
Separate
So
site.
totally
It's
separate.
totally separate thing. Bundle of Holding focuses mostly on that, and they've got a lot happening.
And they've
There's
been around
so
for a couple
many.
years.
Yeah.
They've been doing really good work in the industry.
Yeah. I'm excited because I hadn't actually heard about it before, so now I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah, so they've got a couple bundles right now. Mutants Masterminds, Earth Prime, which is the superhero, RPG. Fragged, tabletop role-playing game, and the exploration and rebuilding of the post-apocalyptic adventures. 10 days left for that. You want to do this?
No, I was looking at it. I was like, they've got one of each here. Like, they have the superheroes,
They do.
dark superheroes, like post-apocalyptic.
Yep, Aberrant, dark doomed superheroes. Only 2 days left. Actually, that sounds.
It's worth noting that Christian
Yeah.
mentioned last time that he loved Aberrant.
Oh, that's true.
So
Yeah.
you should hit him up either next week or on Twitter and check
There's
in
only
about
2
that.
days left, so
I might look into that because it actually sounds really
Yeah.
neat. Like,
Yeah.
guys, I love me flawed
Are you
heroes.
aware of the Aberrant Trinity backstory at all?
I am not.
So the way that worked is Trinity came out. This was like a White Wolf thing that they came out after World of Darkness.
Okay.
Trinity came out, and it was
Ooh.
near future psychics.
Okay.
And they was psychic powers, and you'd met aliens, and you were starting to travel the galaxy. But we had this dark history of part of the reasons that we have the psychics is they were developed to fight the Aberrants. And the Aberrants are these crazy mutants who are weird and nasty, and they try to kill the planet. And then they came out with Aberrant the next year. And Aberrant was during that time when the superheroes are just emerging, and they're all optimistic, and they're gonna save the world, but you know that they're gonna become corrupted. And then the third game in the series was before that, and it was the Aeon Society, Indiana Jones, swashbuckling 1920s,
Wow.
two-fisted pulp adventure that was kind of a story thread that went through all games.
That's
Whoa,
cool.
that's so
I
cool.
had no idea about that. Definitely, with 2 days left, I probably looking into this. Probably
Yeah.
gonna get some new PDFs after we leave here today.
Nice.
And then, so going off of what there was going, the Trinity First Edition is also available from the bundle of holding. Science fiction, psychic powers, and aliens with aberrant superheroes as the villains. There's only 2 days left for that.
So those two really tie together. So,
Yep. So
you're gonna get
Aberrant
one.
is the history of Trinity.
Yeah.
And Trinity just had a Kickstarter for a second edition. And that also, I don't know if you remember, had a little bit of controversy when it originally came out because it was called Aeon, or Aeon Trinity. And Aeon Flux MTV sued them.
yeah.
So they had to, because it came in a spiral-bound book that had a plastic wraparound cover. And they had to ship out stickers for all the stores to put over the Aeon.
Oh, wow.
Because that was part. It was nuts.
I guess you can't trademark names.
Yeah.
So there you go. So those are all the headlines we got going on right now. There's lots happening. We'll make sure we provide links in the chat at some point. Because Derek is back here, he's not chatting with you guys all on our chat. So poor Kristen's doing all of the work.
Doing everything
She's doing.
back here.
I think we have Jordan helping out.
Oh, okay, great. We've
Hey,
got somebody
Jordan.
helping out. Hello, Jordan. Thanks for helping out. Speaking of Kickstarter, we're going to go to a new section that I love and like to call Tifa's Kickstarter Corner, where Tifa's going to present some Kickstarters you may want to be taking a look into, with of course help from all of us and
Yes.
Derek, who is as known a self-proclaimed Kickstarter junkie.
Kickstarter connoisseur,
Not
gourmand.
junkie. All right. Tifa Robles, talk to us about these Kickstarters.
So I'm going to start out with some that are kind of new and up and coming, huge successes that have blown past their goals, things that you might want to make sure you get in on while they're hot, because I have a feeling that once they're out, they will be hard to get your hands on. First one, the Shipwreck Arcana Stars Below. So this is a reprint of the Shipwreck Arcana by Meramorph Games, and there's 2 mini expansions within Stars Below. If you're not familiar with Shipwreck Arcana, it is a cooperative card game. What's great about it is it's a quick 20-minute game, easy to teach. You can actually like have people jump in and out of the game.
Yes, yeah.
It's absolutely like our favorite game right now.
Really?
We're playing it all the time. It's fully cooperative. It's kind of like Mysterium meets Hanabi almost.
Oh,
is
wow.
kind of what to describe it. Like it's a math puzzle that you're trying to communicate, but your communication options are extremely limited.
Yeah.
And is it
Really neat.
2 to 6 players then? Is it 2 players?
It's 2 to 5.
2 to
I
5.
think it's
Okay.
about.
2 is nice because like there aren't a ton of great cooperative games for 2 people, for couples in particular. So it's always
Yeah,
great
it
to
is
see.
easier at 2, but they do have some variants to make it harder.
Nice.
Well, and what's interesting is like the core mechanic is deduction puzzles. So
Yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
it's
unique.
great. It is impossible to find because it's out of print, and that's why they're doing the Kickstarter is to get
Yep.
it back in print.
Well, it's awesome.
With expansions.
Yep. So grab it while you can because it's going to go out of print again soon.
Yeah, and there's 18 days left.
This show is gonna be bad for my wallet. See all the stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, I want
That's what
that.
happens when you invite me on.
Yeah.
Well, in that one,
The hurt your wallet segment.
I think it like funded in 24 hours. Like it
Yeah.
was like
I believe it.
immediate.
It's just gorgeous too. Like all the art and stuff.
Yep.
You look at it like auto buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's the cards are large tarot size. It's like a faux tarot design. It's not actually tarot cards.
Right.
They invented their own because the theme of the game is that you're all these travelers or sailors or whatever who have been sucked into this weird alternate universe, and you're fated to die. But if you can read the tarot right, and you can get around the curses.
Nice.
It's weird.
Neat.
It's really neat.
What else we got?
Cyberpunk RPG. We were already talking about how exciting Cyberpunk is. Carbon 2185. This is a brand new RPG. It is using the D&D 5th edition, the OGL.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, either of you. This is, you can use D&D's 5th edition rules, just don't call it D&D 5th edition. You can sort of like,
Yeah, how does that
like a
work?
I
franchise.
think it's a little unclear. I don't know. There's definitely a lot of people who are using OGL or 5th edition without naming what 5th edition
Right.
it is.
Right, okay.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just excited because people are beginning to explore that.
Right.
As
Yeah.
5th edition has really just continued to rock it. People figuring out different ways they can apply those rules,
Yeah.
I think are great because then the folks who are comfortable, who've come in the hobby, are comfortable with 5th edition, can explore something new without also having to learn a whole new rule system.
Which
When
is
people are super
No.
super interested in this, it raised 93,000.
Wow.
It only had a 13,000 goal, and there's still 12 days left.
Yeah. And I would say, like, we talked a little bit about Wizard of the Coast and Acquisitions Incorporated
Yeah.
and potentially, like, putting out some. So if they're, like, if there's a way in which, like people are going to buy a whole ton of D&D, like, Wizard of the Coast stuff if they get into this. And so, like, if other people can kind of build supplements, they can coexist.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I mean, that was
beautiful.
always that was always the promise of the D20 era too.
that
So
is-
it'll be interesting to see how history repeats or does not repeat itself this time.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so Cyberpunk, based in San Francisco, I'm really excited to see where that goes and potentially even where it takes the 5th edition
Yeah.
mechanics.
Yeah, yeah.
Sci-fi, more fun themes. 1001 Odysseys, choose your own adventure. So this is like Arabian Nights, right? Sort of an RPG, almost legacy style game.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
adorable.
So grotesquely cute.
I can't.
It
like,
is painful.
and
you ever
everywhere
heard-
they have like the little stuffy. I don't know if
The
it's like a
plimplin.
beet or something. It looks like a plant. What
Yep,
does he call it?
It's a plimplin.
Oh, the plimplin. Yeah. I just see this and I'm like, so the base game. It's interesting how they structured their Kickstarter too, because the base game is $75, and that's the lowest backer level. So they're kind of like, we're not going to deal with $1 backers.
Yeah.
We're not going to try and do a bunch of stuff. You're just like, you're in or you're not in.
Which I think is a great way to do a board game like this. It's it's like, hey, buy the game or don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a chance to play test at least part of it. I don't know how much they've changed since then, but it was really clever. It was Arabian Nights. So if you've ever played Arabian Nights, you travel around the board, you encounter something, you decide how you want to interact with it, and then that branches your story off. But Arabian Nights, emulating the source material, is very random. It's chaotic. You have no idea what's going to happen. You kind of just play to see.
Yeah.
And this one, I think, is a little more structured, where you actually kind of do have a little bit of a branching narrative, and it makes a little bit more coherent story sense. You are playing through a story, not discovering some random things that are going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And there were some really interestingly clever mechanics to save the game state in a way.
Oh yeah, like the file.
There's a file, like you have a portfolio, a passport, I think, that is your story. So you can be like, great, we're done. You put it away, you file it, and then next time you want to play, you open it back up. And the game is like, okay, if A, B, C, D, X, Y, go here. And then you just follow those instructions. It's
What makes-
super cute.
Yeah.
What makes me the most interested is that each chapter can be as short as 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
not
that-
like you have to commit 4 hours to a session. You can actually do like a quick session. Like you could have dinner with friends and then just do like a quick session after dinner.
Yeah.
Even on a weeknight. And they're like, that's super appealing to me.
There's not a lot
Especially
of
as a
other
parent.
like storytelling games or RPGs that really get that like tight gameplay
Right.
time.
Yeah, and definitely something for people who want a sci-fi twist, but not a serious or dark or at all like normal sci-fi. It's very cute, very weird. It's a galaxy full of aliens who are bizarre, colorful.
Adorable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think this has a lot of potential for like newer players or like even like parents or kids. Like I think it could be really great for that.
All right, what else we got?
CNC wood dice. So Emma, you love dice.
I feel very called out right now.
You're very excited.
I don't have a problem. It's fine. Everything's fine. I don't know why you're. So dice are great. Yeah, and
Did you see the colors? There's like a purplish wood.
yeah, purple. I love the type of wood, purple heart wood.
Yeah.
Even just saying it into like here, like for this momentous like roll that I have to do, I'm gonna break out my purple heart dice. But I'm sorry, you were gonna say something?
I think the key is that they're machined too.
Yes.
It-
Yeah.
They're not, like whittled.
Yeah.
So
That would take a
So
very long time.
balance.
yeah,
you
and
know.
it's probably not like tournament legal necessarily.
Well,
but like they're gonna look like really nice dice, but just made of wood.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Which is really cool.
And it's definitely something that I would love to discuss more in the future, but just like the products and gaming as a lifestyle. Gaming as a lifestyle and not just a hobby or something to do for entertainment. These are something you can put on your, do people still have mantles? I don't know, like put on your mantle.
we have a mantle.
There you
Mantle
go.
is where I stacked all the books I haven't read.
There.
My mantle has my Xbox controller, and because I got a little holder for my Xbox controller that holds the controller and a drink.
Because you're a lifestyle gamer.
Because
Yes,
I'm a lifestyle
yeah.
gamer.
Or like I have our windowsill. Like we have big windows and the whole thing is just jars of dice. I have like hundreds of dice. I haven't counted them. It might be closing in on 1,000. But just like jars and bowls, and they're just there as a thing, and it's like it's pretty, it looks really nice, and it's something that you can. But what I love about it is also functional, and I think that's part of the gaming lifestyle. Is this like intersection of like beauty and functionality.
I'm gonna use that to justify all the metal dice that I bought.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm wondering how light they'll be. Because, it's
Ooh,
funny when
yeah.
you get, a good set of, new metal dice, you're like, oh, they're so heavy. With these, it's kind of the opposite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so light.
I do have a pair of really big wooden D6s, and the actual interesting element is how they smell, because they
Ooh.
always have a really interesting aroma. I think
Cedar wood.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like
think
the deck boxes,
yeah.
we have some really nice made, Merrick-made wooden deck boxes for Magic, and they, I've had them for a couple years now, and they still smell, great.
But also, they're wood burned as well, so you get that combination of
The-
a really nice wood burning smell.
Exactly.
Smoke like a nice scotch.
Yeah.
Have you felt though the tungsten dice?
Yes.
I have not.
If you go to PAX or Gen Con or anywhere, Like they'll do the drop tail, like it's the fancy gemstone dice. I think there's like one person who does it. They're like, I got the tungsten one, and it sits in your hand. It's like heavier than other metals. It's like the heaviest, smallest thing. It feels like the weight of the world.
At the other end of the spectrum, I need to introduce you to the tiny little dice I have that are just wireframes. So it's like fully machined out aluminum, and you shake them, and they go. They make little chimey noises.
TableTakes, presented by Dice.
Okay.
What else we got?
Anyway.
Kickstarter. Back to Kickstarters.
Sentinels. So first there was Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Oh, that's a sweet deck building game.
Right.
The co-op deck building. Those who don't know, it's essentially like superheroes trying to take down a big baddie. Every superhero is sort of like. It's like there's like the Batman-esque character, and his deck is all about getting gadgets, and it's awesome. He's Bat Dude. Well, he's like the loner brooder guy that hangs out at night. And he gets all, and there's so many expansions. It's actually really fun. I've played it a ton of times, and it's super cool. There's I can go on and on about it. It's if you haven't played it, check it out. There's a ton of ways to play.
There's a very engaged audience around this game.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned there's also digital implementation. Like, I actually hung out with the developers of it, and like we had said, learning because one thing about it, there's a little barrier to entry, especially with some of the characters.
Yeah, some of the characters are very hard.
And it does have that digital edition to.
But having the characters be very hard helps because you start out with the easy character.
Yeah.
And then as you get into the game, you transition to the difficult characters.
Yeah.
I think they also just came out with a commemorative box
They did.
that
It's
fits
huge.
everything.
It's
And I'm pretty sure it's about this big.
It's
I
the
think
size.
that-
Yeah.
Could I fit in it?
Yes.
Yes.
That was another
Probably.
section we were considering.
Can Tifa fit?
All right. So
But anyway,
Sentinels.
so Sentinels of the Multiverse, they actually came out with a series of comics based on the TCG, and now they're coming out with an RPG based on the comics. So this is on Kickstarter. It's by Greater Than Games, and it's a cooperative. Or wait, no, the TCG was cooperative.
Yep.
I'm not.
The RPG
The
is
RPG
presumably
probably will also be cooperative.
Presumably.
It's a brand new system, so there's nothing to compare it to.
That's awesome.
They did a
yeah.
couple playtests at Gen Con,
Ooh.
and it does sound very interesting. Like there's like thresholds, and I think it seemed to emulate the whole thing of superheroes never bust out their power right off the bat.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of time to kind of build up your limit break, I guess.
It seemed like they really wanted to tie
You
into
call
the
it a limit break. Sorry. That was good.
They really wanted to tie into the mechanics of the card game so that, it appeals to the same audience and feels like it's in the same world. So yeah, a whole new system, RPG. They're already raised $175,000.
This thing funded in an hour.
Oof.
People are really passionate about Sentinels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's 20 days left, but again, it's one of those.
Plenty of time.
But you want to get in now because it might be one that's really hard to get once it comes out.
I think we'll have some friends working on it too. I'm sure you got friends working on it. Like I know, like there's a dude that I know from back in my D&D days who's been tweeting about it. I'm pretty sure he's actually helping with some of the scenarios. But I don't want to call him out in case he's not, or if I don't know if he's just excited or if he's helping out.
Well, either way, if he's not, and you said he is, then he'll be like, "Oh, Mike thought so much of me that he thinks I'm involved in this."
In that case, my good friend newbie DM from back in the
Or you
day.
blew up his spot.
Yeah, there you go. He's not anymore.
Now his cover's blown.
And now his cover's blown. It's supposed to be a secret, and if it's not,
Game designer protection
Philippe,
program.
I'm sorry. All right.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I knew you'd be in on this.
There.
Because the game, so for my birthday a couple years ago, Tifa was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "The Ghostbusters game, the Scott Pilgrim game, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game." I was like, if it's licensed and it's a cartoon,
and it's from like what, late 80s, early 90s.
yeah, I want the game version of that.
And this is why he has more games than he has time to play.
That's true.
Because there was like a whole 2-year stretch where he would get like 4 board games for any holiday.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
Sounds wonderful.
So there's a new expansion base game. Like there's a lot.
Made by IDW. So ties directly into the comics.
And it's another one of those adventure board game
Yeah.
with miniatures that are on Kickstarter. Like again, it's got a bunch of miniatures that look amazing.
Yeah.
If
It's
you're into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
And this is called City Fall.
Ooh.
Dice minis. This comes out with an additional 2 adventures, brand new minis, and a few different scenarios. What I think is really cool, different from other games like this, is there's you could play versus or co-op.
Neat.
So you can have somebody take on, like, be the villain, which is really neat.
Nice.
All right, how many more you got? Because we are coming up on, we still got about 20 minutes left in the show, and we still have a lot to talk
Okay,
about.
I want to. There's one more I want to
let's
talk
do
about.
one more and
Let's
then
do one
move on.
more. Zorro, Phoenix Rising.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good
Zorro
one.
is such a good game.
Such a fan of Zorro. Calliope Games. I think I'm saying
Calliope.
Calliope every time.
I'm going to interrupt you real fast.
Yeah.
I was just given a word. We can go a little bit longer today. So we'll give you 2 more. I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give you 2 more.
Oh wait, I have one that I want to talk about.
All right.
Great.
I'll give you 2 more. We'll give Emma 1 more, and we'll let Derek chime in whenever he wants, because that's what he does.
This new Zorro looks beautiful.
Don't they all?
Yes, but this
They
is
all.
like, it's really pretty. It has like blue and red with the Phoenix rising. There's double-sided tiles, which is really cool.
Ooh.
And the Phoenix can return.
That's super
after
cool.
It's taken off the board.
That's awesome.
Really excited. They only asked for 10K, and they're at 162,000. 8 days left, so that's when you want to get on next week.
I hope it does well.
I mean,
If you've ever wanted to push your friends off the edge of the map, that's the way I pitch it at Mox.
That's
Like it's
good.
It's an easy game for people to get.
It's
It's one of
so
the easiest
easy.
ones that I pitch to people. They're like, oh, I don't really know a ton about games. I'm like, you want to push your friends off the edge of the world? They're like, yes.
Anytime we go to a convention where they have like the big one, the
Yeah,
life size,
Uncle's has the life-size one.
I
It's
always
so
ask,
fun.
I always ask, are you guys gonna keep this when you're done? Because I really want to take that home. I want to take that version home.
Where are you gonna play it?
Doesn't matter.
There.
I'll just take it with me wherever I go. I'm like, who's got
Yeah.
who's
got
got
room?
12 by 12 space?
It could be a yard
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, it could be a yard game.
I love it.
My neighbor's like, what are all these people doing out
There.
there?
Pushing
Invite
each
them
other
over
off the
to
edge of the world.
Yeah, come on over, guys.
All right, Emma, what did you have?
You get one more.
Right, well,
Emma
we
has
each
one.
get one.
Yeah, so you
each
get
get
2.
one?
No, I was saying you get 2.
How
So you get
generous.
Zorro one more.
All right,
Wait,
so
maybe it's the same one though. I don't know.
It could be.
which
Let's see
you
which one are you
want
gonna talk about.
Tokyo, there's, sorry.
Is that
I-
that
Yeah, that was one
Tokyo
of them.
Game
Oh,
Perfect.
great.
There you go. Let's talk about
Yay.
it.
Yeah, we'll just talk about it.
We'll all talk about this.
Go ahead, Emma. You start us off.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh. I mean, you can't really talk about the Tokyo series of tabletop games without talking about Jordan Draper,
Right.
who is a fantastic, fascinating human being. I actually got to hang out with him a little bit
Oh, cool.
at PAX Unplugged. I got to play
Nice.
Praise. It was kind of a social deduction where you're doing like backhanded compliments to people. I immediately ruined the game because I like jumped in and they gave me the card. I'm like, oh, what if your card is blank? And he took back everyone's cards and like shuffled them together. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's like it's definitely some interesting stuff going on there. But again, it's like gorgeous. Like the design of these games is like
And this
absolutely
Kickstarter
stunning.
is for a series of games, of
Yeah.
which that is just one even.
Yeah,
So
so
that's cool.
the main series is the 3 games. The coin laundry. There's 3 of them total. I forget the individual titles, but in addition, like Praise is one of the, and they're all small box. Praise
Yeah.
is one of the even smaller box
Wow.
games you can get as an add-on. So
So this is 12 games. It's actually 12 games.
Oh,
You
okay,
play
yeah.
each of them as a standalone,
That's
or you
super
can mix them all
cool.
together.
Wow.
Just really cool.
That's super neat.
Yeah.
And it's cool how it also feeds into a lifestyle thing. Like Jordan posted a picture on Twitter just yesterday of like, this is my life, and it's 2 suitcases. So it's this idea of, and again, it comes from a lot of the Japanese like lifestyle stuff. Marie Kondo, are we allowed to say that? Because there's like a whole lot of drama around
Does
that
this
now.
does this Kickstarter bring you joy?
Does this spark?
Does this spark your joy?
Yeah.
Did you thank this
I-
Kickstarter? Do you thank your Kickstarters when they're done?
Yes, actually.
There's
Because means you're
mean,
gonna
you
get
should.
something.
No, and every Kickstarter survey, they're like extra comments or feedback. I'm like, congratulations, awesome, good luck.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're sparking joy, Derek.
That's
You're
right.
a little,
Sparking
you're a
joy.
little
I'm a ray
spark
of
of joy.
sunshine.
You are.
Does this Kickstarter bring you joy?
Yeah. So it's great. I mean, a lot of people, go the direction of the big box games, the enormous Sentinels box, Gloomhaven. But again, like, some people, it's a privilege really to have the space to like buy and store those big games. So for people, who might not have as much space or are looking for games that aren't quite as
This is a
pricey,
box I would not be able to fit in.
There.
You can still give it you can give it a good college try.
We talk about this for those of us like Tifa and I travel. We visit my family quite often, and we
Oh,
don't have room
yeah.
to take big games, and so we'll try to find games that can fit in her purse.
Yeah.
So that when we take it on the plane, we just pop it out, start playing. A friend of mine had a game called Jungle Rummy based on the Jungle Cruise. The backs of the cards are all like Jungle Cruise tickets.
Really cute rummy game.
It's it's super easy rummy game. But so we have that. We have some other smaller games like Flux, like tiny games.
Shipwreck Arcana is a pretty small game, and that's the
Yeah.
one that we bring everywhere,
Nice.
so that we always have something to do with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love letter, pairs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always great to have more games like that.
There are actually 2 Kickstarters I want to touch on real quickly
Sure.
before we move on, just
do
very
it.
quickly.
Yeah.
There are 2 that both have 7 days left, which is why I want to mention
All right,
them,
there we
because we
go.
won't have another time before we do a show. One is a magazine for Savage Worlds RPG content.
Oh, that's
and I
cool.
know, I feel like I need to represent Christian because he said that he loves
Yeah.
Savage Worlds.
Yeah.
He would want us to note that it's producing a regular zine of just Savage Worlds content. That is called the Savage Sign, so go check that out if you were big into Savage Worlds. The other one is A Woman with Hollow Eyes, Season 2. Does anybody know what Invisible Sun is here?
No.
No.
So Invisible Sun was another Kickstarter thing. This is tying back in with Monty Cook. Same
Okay.
thing,
Yes.
Luminaria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Invisible
yeah.
Sun was the weird black cube. It was a very, very surreal, very bizarre RPG that launched on Kickstarter as like a prestige, weird, strange RPG. And this is an actual play series for it from the One Shot Network, who does a whole
Nice.
bunch of different actual play things. So that's another thing that people might want to check out if they enjoy stuff on Twitch or stuff. I think it goes up on YouTube. I'm not sure about the details, but it's a thing that people should check out if they're interested.
All right.
Speaking of Twitch,
Speaking of Twitch, question for everybody. What do Carcassonne, Settlers of Catan, Pandemic, and Munchkin all have in common? Does anybody know? All these games have one thing in common.
I don't know, but I feel like you're going to switch it up.
Look at that. That's right. All of these games are going to be played on the Switch. Carcassonne is actually out now on the Switch. These are all Asmodee, who is, I'm actually going to go ahead and make this bold claim because if you come to table, these are the hottest of takes. Asmodee is probably one of the leaders in digital board games.
I think that's a fair.
And so Carcassonne is already out on the Nintendo Switch. Emma was actually playing it before we went live.
This also explains why we've had these.
Yes.
They're bringing
This is here for a reason.
They're bringing Settlers to Catan to Switch, Pandemic, and Munchkin. Settlers and Munchkin don't have dates yet. Pandemic's coming out, I believe, April of this year. Carcassonne is already out. It came out December of last year. And then their expansions and deals are coming out as paid DLC.
I hope you're ready for when Settlers comes out, and I'm going to be borrowing your Switch all
That's
day.
fine. That's 100% fine. So here's the thing: we're talking about this. This is like huge because digital board games are becoming the thing. And we were talking about this. I actually learned to play both Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride on the Xbox 360. I had never touched those games before. I actually played them because I was like, these look like really cool ideas. And it's sort of a pain in the butt when you're playing games like that because it's a game like Ticket to Ride. I had to be like, Ray, turn around, and have my friend turn around while I was looking at my cards, like looking at my hands of cards.
Oh,
But-
yeah, interesting, the pass and play.
We used to play Ticket to Ride on our phones all the time.
Yeah,
And
we did.
I'll be honest, I actually am not the biggest fan of Ticket to Ride if I'm at a board game night. Like, there's a lot of other games I'd rather play. But for a digital game, it was my favorite on the phone for a long time.
There's a lot that somehow just work great in that
Yep.
sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially you do turn, you move on, you come back to it later.
Exactly. Yeah.
When I used to ride the subway in New York, like that was one of my go-to games because you can just play against computer players, and then if you're losing, you just quit and start over
Yeah,
again.
absolutely.
And then just like do your little route thing. get
There was that long
cards.
period of time where everybody I knew had like 5 games of Ascension going
Oh
at
my
once.
god!
Oh, yeah.
And we all had 5 games
Yeah.
of Lords of Waterdeep going at the same
Oh
time.
yeah, I remember
Yep.
that. I think we were in the
absolutely.
three of us
We were
a
in
bunch of
those
games
together.
We were
Yeah.
in it.
But the Ticket to Ride was one that we could also do the pass and play,
Yeah.
like at the airport.
Yeah.
Oh
Or
yeah,
at,
back
like-
when we travel on the plane, we
Yeah.
sit there and pass our phone back and forth.
That's what Nellie does every time we go to a restaurant and sit down. Before the waiter comes over and asks, like, how are you? She boots up Pandemic and just slides the phone over. Just doesn't even ask, she just starts it.
That's her. That's actually because she doesn't want to talk to you. She's like, hey,
There.
shut up.
Were you guys talking? You know, maybe. It's not like the mind.
So this is going to bring a lot. There's a lot to discuss when it comes to this, because what does this mean for the future of board gaming? I was looking at Carcassonne on your screen. Mario Party is a board game, a random variety board game that is here. And while you connect these to the TV, like the Switch is such a portable console, we can just sit here and all crowd around. And I wonder if some of these games are going to use. Is this meant to replace the iPad version? iPad's huge.
Yeah, right.
Can we sit here and use the touchscreen, or is this going to be pass and play?
Well, because a number of the Asmodee digital games haven't been replacing the board game. It's been adding the iPad in to replace, say, the GM or the bad guy player. Because it used to be like one versus many.
Right, yeah.
You put the iPad in there, and now it's all versus the computer.
But so now these are games that are going to be built specifically for the Switch, and because Ticket Triad and Carcassonne weren't replacing; they were replacing the board games, right? So and Carcassonne on the Switch clearly is already doing that; it's replacing that board game. I wonder how a game like Munchkin is going to work.
Well, I think it's important to note that there's two different ways to view this. It's how are these coming to digital affecting their place in tabletop, and then also the other way around. How are digital games like Hearthstone, which doesn't have a physical game, how are those games affecting the tabletop industry? So it's a back and forth.
What is each side learning from the other?
Right.
Yeah.
I will say, this might upset some people, but I played Carcassonne only recently, because it's 25 years old.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It is venerable.
I played it for the first time.
It's always somebody's first time.
Yeah, I played it for the first time recently, and it didn't really land with me. And again,
And that's fine.
because I wasn't playing in that era. When I first played Settlers of Catan, it was 20 years ago, and it was just wow. But now, having played so many games and coming to Carcassonne, it's kind of I don't know, it's a little bit slow, and it's it feels a little bit too random, I don't have a lot of choice. But then, so seeing it, I was I want to play it on the Switch so I can tell people about it on the show. And then I played it, and then I had to go to bed, but I wanted to play it again.
Yeah.
Because just the way that it was on the Switch, it takes away a lot of that, the overhead, the overload of the game, a lot of the mechanics and stuff. I'm I hadn't played with farmers, because they're don't play with farmers on your first game.
Right.
But the UI for it's this is all the points you got from that farmer, and in a split second, oh, I get it.
Some
now.
things are just easier to learn when you play them through that way.
Yeah.
Well, and we've talked about arenas that way, right? Magic the
Arena,
Gathering
yeah.
is super hard to get into. It's easy to learn, right? There's 20 years worth. It's easy to learn when you have the right teachers.
It's not easy to learn.
When you have the right
It's not.
teachers. When you have the right teachers, you can get the basics of Magic
It
the
is
Gathering.
easy to get the basics in a
Right.
Basic
45-minute
basics.
session.
Well, that's what I
But
mean.
you can't go from learning the basics to going to a Friday night.
Oh no,
Magic.
not at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying
Magic
arena.
takes a lot of time and sort of memorizing things before you can really sit and play the
And
game.
that's not what I was saying. Is you can get the basics down, and Arena does a good job of that. And these board games are giving you the basics.
Well, Magic
Yeah.
Arena helps take it that next step where you can actually practice it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the really intriguing thing with a lot of these games
Yeah.
is that, because people a lot of times when you have a digital adaptation, they'll be oh, well, is this going to replace? People are just going to play this. No one's going to leave their house.
Yeah.
But we don't play board games just to leave. It's not leaving the house isn't the price we pay to play the board game. A lot of time, it's the reason we're playing the board game is to go hang out with our friends.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can do that online,
Yeah.
but it's not the same.
Right,
We
yeah.
still want to see our friends. We still want to hang out together. So it's not going to replace that, but it's going to give somebody a chance to learn the game in the comfort of their home.
Yeah.
And then practice the game in the comfort of their
Yes.
home,
Right.
so they can feel that they're confident trying out their first Friday Night Magic.
And on their own terms as far as when,
Yeah.
right? I stay up till 4 a.m. sometimes. So if I finish writing at 3 and want to do something before I go to sleep, I can hop on and play a board game on the Switch for.
I bet for parents it's going to
30
be
minutes.
even better because
I can save the game.
Yeah.
I can
Right.
stop what we're playing.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry.
Come back
There's
later.
a difference between when we're sitting there trying to play a board game on our dinner table and it's oh, my kid's being fussy, I have to go put him down for a nap, come back and be oh, what happened? Versus being oh, he's going to be fussy, I can take my Switch with me while he's going to
Yeah.
sleep and just continue to play on the Switch.
Well, can you play with people all around the world on a Switch?
Probably.
Switch has the ability to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to depend on the individual game.
Yeah.
So some of the games have had that even on phones. Like
Yeah.
this is obviously not the first time that video or
Right.
board games have gone digital.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the interesting element with the Switch now is not just going digital, but this being a very, very portable platform for it to be on that
Yeah.
people are really hot on right now.
Yeah.
But also one that you can then bring somewhere else, connect with other devices, and then connect to your TV. So, because to me, that's
Yeah.
that's going to be the really interesting element.
So-
is where does that go?
So here's something that I would like to see, and I don't know if this is something that they're thinking of, or maybe because on Mario Party you can play a version of Mario Party where you set the Switch down and the board is on the screen. And you can connect to somebody else's Switch and then align it in a way where that's the board game. So like the switches will connect and become one thing. You're talking about connecting local wirelessly and then having one of them docked while connected. But you can actually make a board on Mario Party and set the board however you want. And I'm curious to see if maybe if some of these other games are going to do that as well, where the board, you set this down and that becomes a board and everybody has their Joy-Con.
I think people
super
are going to
cool.
experiment with it.
Yeah, and
I
that's
think so.
Cool, like the technology opens up space for different things that aren't doable in physical.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and like one of my best friends, like my best friend from college, who we lived together and like named the parts of our apartment after pieces of Settlers of Catan, he now lives in Japan. So like the idea of being able to like, play with him on our Switches across the world is like really exciting.
yeah.
So what about some of the digital only games that we feel have been really influenced by board games? So we talked about Hearthstone.
So I would like to see, a Hearthstone or Gwent or those games come out to the Switch because I think it's going to be really, really neat. There's a game that's there's already the analog and the digital. They both released at the same time. That's Play Fusion's Light Seekers. You can do
Yes.
both of those. You can scan
Yeah.
your cards on your mobile app and play it there. That's announced. That's coming to Switch. And it's going to be curious to see if that's going to be a new version or if that's going to connect to the already connected games that you have.
So
It'll
Light
also-
Seekers, people might not be aware what Light Seekers is. It's a collectible card game that came out last year with very adorable, cutesy fantasy animals. And it's targeted
And solid
a little bit
mechanics
younger, but it's a really fun, great game. Pretty easy to pick up if you play any TCGs.
But as a question, like what happens to organized play if it comes out on the Switch and is popular? Do stores run an event where you bring your Switch and they have
Stores-
they have a
stores
Switch
do that
tournament
now?
and a physical tournament?
Stores have what they call the Fireside.
Oh yeah, the Hearthstone Fireside
Fireside
Chats.
Gathering.
Fireside
Yeah.
chat, they get gatherings chats. Yeah, like they have that, right? Where everybody just comes and brings their laptop or their mobile device or wherever they're playing, their iPad, whether they're playing Hearthstone at, and you you hang out together. That'd be neat. Like
Yeah.
you go into restaurants now or game stores now, and there's one section where everyone's just on their phones. I mean, you can,
Yeah.
and now they're just all on their phones, but they're together playing, Pandemic or Munchkin. Like out of all these games, I'm actually really curious the most about Munchkin and how Munchkin's going to work. Like Munchkin is a weird game as it is now.
Well, it's very social.
It is a very social game, so it's gonna be curious to see how that one works. Like, is it gonna be required where each Joy-Con is their own representative of their own hands? Can you connect wirelessly? And I'm playing Munchkin against Emma. We both see the same board, but we only have to worry about what's on our own screen.
Well, and Munchkin's gotten like pretty serious about organized play over the
Yeah.
last few years. So I mean, I'm sure they have that in mind at the very least.
Yeah, is Munchkin gonna be the TCG, or is it gonna be the
was wondering
Munchkin
that
board
too.
game, or is
Yeah.
it gonna be old school Munchkin? Like,
Right.
what?
Right, because there's so much.
Speculation.
Yeah.
There's so much Munchkin.
TCG, yeah.
There's so much Munchkin.
A lot of Munchkin.
There's a lot of Munchkin.
Yeah.
Boxes and boxes of Munchkin. So that's gonna be really curious just
But
to see
we were
what
talking
happens.
about too about like actual digital only games,
Right.
like digital board games is a new upcoming class, and I think a lot of people would almost argue that like, oh, that doesn't count as a board game.
Hand of
It's a-
Fate. Hand of Fate came out. It was started as a video game. It
It's
now
a great
has
video game too.
a board game.
Yeah.
But that was like a couple years later that
Yeah.
they launched the board game because the video game was successful.
Yeah, I think it's easy to overlook how many video games have come out that if you stop and think about it, the mechanics are 100% a board game. And this is even before you take into consideration like turn-based games that
Yeah.
could arguably be that, but just straight up you see a hand of cards on the screen. We were talking about
Yes.
Slay the Spire. There's other games that are like that have a hand of cards and it's turn-based and you take actions and
Move
like
stuff around on a board,
Exactly.
like with
so
grids.
You mentioned Slay the Spire. There's another game that I played a ton of called Monster Slayer, which
Oh, yeah.
is it's a roguelike, so for those who know, it's a procedurally generated dungeon that your character is going across. But while it's happening, every room you go, you get a new card to add to your deck. So it's a roguelike deck builder that is a video game.
Mm-hmm. One of the video games that I loved was Duelist, which was a kind of imagine like Magic almost, but once you cast your monster out on the board, then it becomes a miniatures tactical game.
Yeah.
You move around on a grid. It was a really kind of interesting combination of both.
And I think one of the core things, like the reason, like why would video games even bother with board games? And I think a big part of it is they're taking a lot of the physicality and a lot of the viscerality of tabletop. One of the ones I've been doing on mobile recently is Meteor Fall, and it's like Tinder meets a dungeon crawler. So not in the romantic sense, but you swipe left and swipe right.
Oh,
so
okay.
like you
So
swipe
there's
to cast, and then you swipe left, I think it is, to like discard the card. You lose an action, but you gain some resources.
Oh, cool.
So, and it's got the deck builder aspect to it, but just like the cards and the swiping of it, it's something that wouldn't have been as satisfying in a different form factor.
You were playing. There was like that Family Guy deck building game.
Oh, Animation Domination.
Yeah.
And that's a Fox. It's Family Guy. Oh god.
Oh, it was like
it's Family Guy, Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton. It's basically
wow.
if it's
Yeah.
Fox,
Bob's Burgers too,
yeah,
right?
Bob's, if it's Fox Animation, it's in this game, and it's a deck builder game. It's actually a head-to-head game where you're right. It's this weird deck building game. I was really hoping you said Tinder meets RP. I was like, oh, is this Bard compatible with my party?
That's
and you have to
maybe
like
the next iteration.
you have to like
but-
swoon them.
Yeah.
I had a thought earlier. I had a thought earlier about where this was going, and I lost. The Tinder versus
it's gone now.
this threw me off because I was
Yeah.
like, am I compatible with this bar?
There.
Like that's how I started thinking.
Everyone's gone down this rabbit hole.
It's gone down the rabbit hole. It's done. But it was based on all this digital stuff we were talking about, and now it's gone. Oh, I remember what I was talking about. We're talking about how there are even games. You mentioned Gwent. Final Fantasy was it 9? The card game? What was
Final
the card?
Fantasy VIII had the card game.
Right. That game became its own mobile app after a while. Somebody actually was like, I like this game so much that they built their own
Yes.
version of it, but then Final Fantasy was like, well, screw it, we'll just do it ourselves.
Actually, 9 had a card game too. They both had card games.
It was
I
the
don't
game
know
where
which
you,
one did better.
I think it was the 9 card
The
game
9
where
one?
you flip one and then flip the other and the like the points match, the points.
That's on
like,
Final Fantasy 9.
so yeah, I can't remember the name of that game, but that game came out.
I mean, I think the key thing here to realize is if board games and card games are so much fun that they have infected video games from the beginning and
Right.
have re-emerged fully formed as their own
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
then I'm pretty sure that they are more than robust enough to make a transition into whatever format we might want to play them in.
Yeah. And the core message is like some tabletop gamers, board gamers, are very anti-video game, and I mean I think it's totally cool like to have your stance. Like I prefer a certain style, but this is like it's not going away.
Well, I
and there's
knew
a lot of benefits to your tabletop hobby,
Oh,
to
yeah.
getting people into teaching that are good and like shouldn't be like thrown out just
Right.
because you're like, oh, it's digital.
Well, I know a game store that didn't want to bring in drop mix because
Oh,
they
wow.
were like,
Oh,
we
yeah.
want to keep our store like digital free,
Oh.
which is really
Wait, hey,
interesting.
what was that? I heard
We
pure. Oh,
Pure.
pure. So
Pure,
keep the game space
Tabletop
pure.
pure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nope.
purist. But
I read Death Guard, no purity.
there.
I don't think we need to view them in that way. Like they can definitely exist in the same space. Like board games are going to be around forever. They've already been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So, and we've talked about this before. Like, how much easier is life with the Seven Wonders app? That does all the
Right.
math for
Yeah.
you.
No. Part of the joy of some wonders
Nope.
is getting to the end of the game and being like, in the middle of the game, someone's like, I've got a hand of science cards, and you see their mind go, I don't want to have to deal with doing the math at the end, so I'm going to pass these cards, and you're like, yes, bring them to me.
That's Tifa. Tifa's like, give me all of the science. But it's one of those things where it's like, I love that app so much because I'm like,
never
I don't
used
have
it.
to worry.
I've never used it.
It is
It's
beautiful.
so
You don't have to worry about anything. It does every single math component is done for you in the app.
You don't have to double check your spouse's math.
Wow. Because I love Seven Wonders, so I got to check that out.
It is,
like-
yeah. It's like, oh, who won the war? Great. Who did this? Who did that? And then the best thing about the app is it knows how many tokens are in the box. So it's like you can't do this if it knows that token wouldn't be passed somewhere.
Does a little hand come out and slap you?
Yeah, I know. It kind of gives you a whack. Just no.
So don't lose any pieces. I mean,
Don't lose any pieces in your app.
anyways,
Don't lose any pieces in your app because then I won't remember. So it's interesting. Definitely. So Asmodee has Mansions of Madness, Gloomhaven, the Lord of the Rings LCG, Scythe, like already as with digital components. And I would love to see more of these. I said last time, if Magic Arena comes to mobile devices, I'm like, can it come to Switch? That means it can come to Switch, right? Because I don't have to play. Because I only have a smaller iPhone. I don't have the giant iPhone tablet. But like, I would love Magic Arena on my
They're
Switch.
just-
But that,
I wanted an Xbox.
yeah, me too. But that
Either
does
way,
that
right?
does highlight the other thing that's happening in normal video games. The challenge of, I got my account on one service, I got my account on another service. I want my account where
Yes.
I'm going.
Right.
I mean,
So it's going to be really interesting
Yeah.
to see how Magic addresses that, because
that
that's
is
been a
a
huge bugaboo
persistent
for other things.
thing that people have had a concern with, and even with going over to Arena, people are very invested in Paper Magic or MTGO,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, I have to buy. They're not transitioning to Arena necessarily. It's like I have to buy a whole other collection.
Right.
Like if it is on a Switch or on mobile, it's like, well, I have to buy a whole other collection.
But see, that's the cool thing about the game. So PlayFusion right now is actually doing really cool things like that. And that's because both Lightseekers and their Warhammer game, you can scan your physical
Yes,
cards,
yeah.
and it goes into your phone app, right?
It occurs to me with Keyforge, and each Keyforge deck being unique and scannable to see what's in it.
Oh, you can play it online.
They can.
You can?
Yeah.
You can play Keyforge online?
Is
Not.
it an actual?
Haha.
No, not.
like
okay,
an
let me be
actual-
clear
But
here.
what I'm saying is that, like, I could very easily see
Oh yeah.
them taking the next step of, you bought the physical deck,
Yeah.
you're scanned in this deck, digital is now the only copy of that deck
Right.
digitally too.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of built in on purpose. I mean, obviously I don't know, but
Yeah.
like I would not be surprised.
They probably
Say,
wanted
like-
to see how well it would do before
Right.
they
Yeah.
invested in the overhead of that, because it's not
right.
simple by any means, but
No.
that's exciting.
And that's that's like for everything. Keyforge is like even for being able to buy packs of it
Yeah.
So-
in this day and age.
So clearly, I'm obviously always going to talk about video games because I love video games. They're in my blood. But we've talked about games so the way games as a service is becoming, and with Fortnite is probably the biggest. Fortnite and now Rocket League are probably the biggest examples that every other game can take away from. You can play and have your account connected on every device you're playing on and play against someone. Fortnite can play against somebody that's playing on their Xbox, their PC, their PS4, or their phone.
Did that start working on PS4?
Yep.
Okay.
It is, and if not, then I'm wrong.
Because I'm still holding out for this to finally come to
I'm
Destiny.
pretty sure they finally said, because I know Rocket League is now, Minecraft. Oh, how can I forget Minecraft?
Oh, yeah.
Minecraft now is you can connect everywhere.
Well, and game companies have been working on that for so long because like they want it just as much as the consumers
Yeah.
do.
It was probably the coolest thing for me to see at, I think it was the Game Awards, where it was the head of Xbox, the head of Nintendo, the head of PlayStation, all came out together and was like, we
Yeah.
want to make games, like, we're not here as competitors,
Right.
we're
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
to say that gaming is for everyone, and like gamers can play all together.
This is a thing we didn't really touch on, but accessibility. Again, with the small box games, there is again a lot of privilege in being able to like have time to go somewhere, like
Yeah.
have a car to get somewhere, have the games, like schedule your friends. Not everyone has that. So
Yeah.
to be for this thing, like to be on a Switch, like you have a Switch, but on a phone, a lot of people have the phones. To be able to play these games and access these games without necessarily having the people or the space, like I
Or
think
even
that's-
other accessibility things, like
Yeah.
Microsoft just came out with that accessibility controller.
Yeah.
I think
So,
it's
so
awesome.
if we have board games on Xbox with
Yeah.
that controller, or on PC, I think, because the controller works there too.
I think it does.
But imagine all these board games supporting the accessibility controller to allow all the folks who just previously couldn't shuffle the deck in Magic, couldn't hold the hand of
Yeah,
cards.
yeah.
Now they have a chance to be able to play that, and that's pretty exciting too.
It's very exciting.
If you want a good cry, you should go watch that Super Bowl ad they put out for that controller. It's just like, I mean, it's like it's a good cry because like you're like damn it, yes. Like, yes, like it's a good cry. You know, we talk about accessibility and even being able to play. Like, look at our friends over in the Midwest right now, getting just hammered by a snowstorm,
geez,
right? Load up your console and be like, hey, jump on your PC, jump on your computer. Let's play a game right now. Let's play Settlers.
Yeah.
You know, thousands of miles away, which I think is probably one of the coolest things.
One thing I actually just thought about. Well, I was thinking about this a little last night. So I bought Carcassonne on the Switch. I believe it was $19.99. And they will have unlockable content, which I presume is also paid.
Yep. Yeah, they did. It's paid DLC.
Paid
The expansion is
DLC.
going to be paid DLC.
Yeah. So this, for me, like being in the tabletop industry, I'm excited about tabletop board game companies having access to these influxes of cash flow. Because I think board gaming, like the margins have always been very low.
So
you know,
hard.
it's hard for a lot of these companies to survive.
Yeah.
So if they can get additional income from digital versions and funnel that back into doing more awesome tabletop stuff, that's super exciting.
Yeah.
It's gonna be neat little where's the Switch section at Gen Con this year, Derek?
Well, and even for, I'm thinking now, even for stores, if they can figure out how to do organized play with digital games, that's going to help with their margins as well.
Well, with the thing, because we at Mox, there's things to be oh, why don't you have a Settlers of Catan tournament or something? It's are we gonna open 15 freaking copies of Settlers of Catan? What are we gonna do with those copies? When there's not during the tournament?
Now you can have them. You can throw it on the iPad. You can throw it on their Switch. Have it digitally. Right. I forgot there's Settlers VR.
Yes.
Oh,
which is
weird.
Is that released now, or is that
I don't know if it's released. I saw it. I was at GDC last year.
I think it's released.
Okay.
I saw it at GDC, and there were people just looking around, and I saw it on the screen, and it's you can walk to your area. I don't know what it's like.
That's what I want when I play Settlers is a headache.
Because I this might be a fever dream I had, but it's I thought you could walk to your area. I'm gonna walk over to this desert.
I'm gonna give you this sheep.
I'm gonna punch the thief in the throat.
Please give me some ore.
Actual play experience, or it's you are in the room with the board.
Okay.
So it's not although I love that.
That would be amazing.
That's
maybe it's a little bit of both.
Maybe it's both.
Yeah.
As long as I can pretend that I'm picking up a fluffy sheep.
No, as long as I can punch the thief in the throat, that's all that matters to me.
Making a note that you are not invited to
But again, okay, so this is going to lead me down another tangent. On PSVR, they have a Mafia/werewolf game. There's a werewolf game for PSVR that you and a bunch of friends can play werewolf.
See, these are actual games I'd be interested in for VR, which for me...
Yeah.
Well, somebody also did a variant that wasn't Mafia Werewolf. It was a Wolf Within, I think is what it was called.
That's the game.
Yes,
that's the game. I can't remember the name of the game, but that's it. Ubisoft made that game.
Of using the base, core social deduction game framework that is from tabletop, right? I mean, that's where this
absolutely,
originated. And then
so next week we need to talk about transition into movies. There was a Werewolf Mafia movie.
What?
Yeah.
What movie?
It was from Russia or something like that.
What?
Watch the trailer.
Wait, from Russia, it was made in Russia.
Yes, it is remarkable.
It's not Night Watch.
No, it is not Night Watch. I love that movie and that book.
Yeah! I was talking about Tifa last night. She's like, what's the movie Wanted? And I was let me tell you about it. Sorry. Derek and I are talking about Night Watch after this because that amazing. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been TableTakes presented by Gen Con. Folks, if you want to find us on the internet, you want to chat with us about what games you're playing on your Switch, what board games are you looking forward to the Switch, what Kickstarters are you going to back, what else do we talk about? So many things.
Yeah.
So many things. If there's stuff you want to chat with us about, you can find us on the internets. I'm going to start over here to my right. Tifa, where can people find you?
At Tifa Robles. That's on Twitter, Tumblr, all the things.
Don't you have tifarobles.com?
I do have tifarobles.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Fancy. I'm at Emma Larkins, also pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, website. I also use that on MTG Arena because I kind of slowly getting away from my dorky high school handle.
Which was?
Griffin Fire.
Oh, man.
Oh, now I'm embarrassed.
There we go.
Speaking of dorky handles, though, I'm owning mine.
Yeah,
yours is great.
Frequent Beef.
Frequent Beef. Derek, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me.
We'll lovely have you. Chris can be back next week. I am the Mike Robles on basically anywhere that includes Xbox Live and on the Switch. You want to find me. Until then, we'll be back next week. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.